Hey everyone, welcome to A Lovely Yarn podcast. My name is Amber. Thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome. I'm so happy that you're all here. So you may hear some snoring noises from one of my dogs who is laying behind where I'm filming. She's on the other side of my phone actually. And so if you hear some puppy snoring, or actually she's an older dog, if you hear some dog snoring, that is what's going on. I feel like I've mentioned this before in other podcast episodes, but you know, I film in my bedroom and this is also where she likes to take naps in the sun. So we're just gonna go with the puppy snores. Anyway, what is today? Today is October 26th. It's Saturday. So I'm filming again on a Saturday, which is unusual for me, but I have some time today and I knew that if I didn't film today, it would be at least another week before I got to film. So because next week is a pretty jam-packed week and I will not be able to film an episode. So I had some things I wanted to talk about. So I thought let's just do it. I'm really enjoying the fall weather. We have had amazing weather. For those of you who are maybe new and don't know, my family and I live in Western Pennsylvania, and we are currently enjoying some beautiful, sunny, very temperate fall weather. My husband actually just came over here and he is doing something outside the window, so it's kind of distracting me. I apologize. I'm not a professional by any means. I just enjoy doing this. So anyway, I wanted to show you all my fall earrings. I took a little video before so that I could do a close-up of them. I purchased these off of a maker on Etsy. I think it was 2 years ago now. And I only wear these in the fall just because, I mean, I could wear them other times, but they just remind me so much of fall. They're little acorns, and I will have put a video to the side so you can see a close-up of them. But I have those on. I'll link the Etsy shop down below if that shop is still open. I'm not really sure because it has been a couple of years. And yeah, so I'm feeling very much, I'm just taking in all the beautiful leaves. Oh, the trees here are just absolutely gorgeous. We've had just such gorgeous weather. In fact, my husband and I got up this morning and we built a campfire in our backyard and went and had our coffee out there. It was just such a beautiful morning. Chilly, but you know, you put on your nice big woolly cardigan and you dress appropriately and you build a fire and you put on your wool hat and you're good to go. You've got your hot cup of coffee keeping your hands warm. It was a wonderful morning. So I want to talk about what I've been working on. I have a sweater going right now. I have a hat that I recently started, and then I think I'm going to title this something like channeling the Socktober vibes, because I ended up casting on a bunch of socks and it wasn't even my intention. So it just happened to, you know, I know it's Socktober. Socktober is not really anything that I have practiced or recognized in my personal knitting journey and experience, but I know a lot of people in October, they do the Socktober thing and they really focus on making as many pairs of socks as they can. That wasn't my intention. It just coincidentally happened that I cast on a bunch of socks and I'm working on a bunch of socks. So I'm going to share that with you as well. I also have a couple of podcast recommendations, newer podcasts that I've really been enjoying that I want to talk about. And yeah, I think that will be it for this episode. So thank you guys for your interest in my last special episode where I featured the 15 cardigan patterns. That was really fun for me to put together. I'm currently working on researching an episode that will focus on patterns that are excellent for variegated yarns. Variegated yarns can be a tricky thing because they're kind of busy. Like when you knit them out, variegated yarns can be very busy looking. So I have been I've been finding some patterns on Ravelry that I think, and of course this is all my personal opinion, but I think that these would be really good patterns for variegated yarns. My plan is to have that episode out sometime in the beginning of November. Maybe that will be my next episode that I film, like my next special episode. Also, I cannot even believe it, but I realized this past week that I always put out my scrappy episode the end of November so that it's ready for Advent time for those of us knitters who do the Advent knitting. And it's almost November. So I need to start doing some research for that, which I am more than happy to do. I love researching things. That's part of my personality. And if I can take research and knitting, two things that I really enjoy, and put them together, I'm a happy woman. So that special episode, my plan, that one will be coming out probably sometime before U.S. Thanksgiving time, which U.S. Thanksgiving is the 4th Thursday of November. So hopefully like the next to the last week in November, I'll have that episode out so that for those of us, I'm not getting an Advent calendar. I never have purchased one. I was so blessed last year, and Brazos Fiberworks, they sent me one, and then I've done some exchanges, just like, where you're an informal exchange with someone else. I don't have anything like that in the works for this year, but I still like to plan these episodes and look at the scrappy patterns. So I'm going to be doing that as well, because I know that a lot of knitters do enjoy Advent knitting. I seem to never have time for Advent knitting, and I think it's probably, honestly, since I started filming Vlogmas episodes, I don't have a whole lot of time for knitting in December. It's a busy month anyway, and when you add in the daily recording and then editing, my knitting time has greatly been reduced, is always greatly reduced in the month of December, but it's okay. I mean, I'm not complaining about that. I actually really like to do the Vlogmas, as long as I'm healthy. Last year's wasn't the best because I was really sick the entire month, I think. But anyway, I can't believe I'm talking about Vlogmas already, but it is getting to be that time of year, and I'm not even one of those girls who is all about Christmas. I like Thanksgiving, and I know that not all countries celebrate that. Mitty, what are you doing? My favorite holiday is Thanksgiving. And as I said, that's the end of November. After we get Thanksgiving done, then I can focus on Christmas. But I'm just saying, I cannot believe it's time already. I need to pause and let my dog out because she is pawing to get out of the room. I'll be right back. Okay, I've talked almost 8 minutes, so let's just get started into the knitting. Now that I've told you kind of the plan for the upcoming month with my episodes, like I said, that's my plan. Nothing is ever written in stone, okay? All right, so real quick before I get started, this is a newly finished object. I talked about it last episode, I think it was. This is my MaryAnna sweater by Folk City Fiber Studio. I posted about this, and so many of you left comments on that video that this pattern is no longer free. And so I did look that up, and it is not, and I'm so sorry. I swear it was free when I got it. Unless I'm totally losing it, which is also possible. Or perhaps they were doing a promotion at one time and that's why I got it free. I don't remember paying for this pattern. So I am sorry. I am so sorry that I said it was free and it's not. It is definitely worth it. I love this sweater so much. I've worn this multiple times since I made it. And for those of you that watched the process, that it was a bit of a process. But even though the yarn bled into the gray, this orange color bled into the gray, I still wear it. It's not overly noticeable until I point it out, which I, for some reason, feel the need to do. I love it though, and I love the length. I will definitely make more sweaters this length. It's more cropped. And I have this on with a pair of linen pants today, and I feel very comfortable in this, even though the sweater is cropped. So I'm really happy with this length. I'm going to use this sweater as kind of like a template for future sweaters that I want to knit that are more cropped, because this is going great over these pants. And I have a couple of other pairs of pants that are more high-waisted, so I think that this will go great over those as well. And I also love this one. I wore it with a skirt to a church event. It was really cute. I haven't worn it over a dress yet, but I've tried it on over dresses and it looks good. So yes, I'm so happy with this length that I made this. I will, well, I was going to say I'll put my measurement for like this part of it here, but that doesn't really matter because we're all built differently, right? And I have a very, very short torso. I have very long legs and a very short torso. I'm 5'8", but my legs are like, I have a 34-inch inseam, and then my torso is very short. So me putting in the measurement isn't going to really mean anything for you. Yeah. So just use one of your sweaters that you already have if you want a measurement to use as a template for a sweater. That's what I would suggest. Okay, so that is all on this. If you would like to get more details on how I made this and the yarns that I used and all that, I will try to remember to link that down below. But if I do not, you can just go back a couple of episodes, and I'm probably like holding it up for the YouTube thumbnail. You can, you know, check into it there, because I do not keep Ravelry project pages. That's another thing. If you're new here, I use Ravelry to find patterns, but I don't keep my own projects there. I do that. I keep all of that in a knitting journal, which I cannot find. I have not been able to find my knitting journal for the last week. So I don't know. I'm like, where, my house isn't that big and I can't find it. So I'm not sure what's up with that. Okay, let's get into my whips. I have no finished objects, just a bunch of whips. And the first one I want to talk about is my Tecla sweater. And this is a pattern by Claudia Quintanilla from her Down Memory Lane book that I talked about in my last episode. And I have done quite a bit. I think when I talked about this last, I had just pretty much cast it on the back panel. I'm pretty sure that's where I was. So look at what I have. I have a lot. I have a funny story about this. Actually, not so funny. So I had, you know, just finished this MaryAnna sweater. I had blocked it and realized that the yarn had bled, was feeling really bummed about that, but I was like, it's just a sweater. It's just knitting. Get over it, Amber. And I did. I'm over it. But I had this sweater folded and I had it laying in this project bag like this, open like this, gaping open. I had it setting on the floor beside the chair that I always sit in to knit. I also happen to always sit in that chair in the morning and drink my coffee there because I have a little plant stand that I can just put my coffee cup on, so it's really convenient. So last week I was walking over and I sat down and I went to put my coffee cup down on the stand and my arm bumped the armrest of the chair and I lost about an inch of coffee off the top of my freshly made coffee. All went into my knitting bag. The funny thing is, all I have on my knitting bag to show that that even happened is this tiny little bit there. The rest of it hit my sweater. I'm talking spots, big, wet, drenched coffee spots on this sweater that I was working on. I was a little bit like, oh, this is a good way to start the morning. And then I'm like, oh, well, you know, it's like, you just got to put things in perspective, right? You just got to put things in perspective. So I did. I said, Amber, quit it. Stop being like that in your head. Take your sweater and deal with it. So I did. I took it off the needles. I put it on this barber cord, which it's still on there because I haven't done anything with it since this happened. I immediately took it over and I put it in a bowl of warm water and wool wash. And I kind of like nicely agitated it with my hands, and I tried to just like I was I was using my hands as like a washing agitator because I was trying to just get the coffee and the almond milk particles out of the fibers. And of course, it was all wet at that time, so I couldn't tell how good of a job I had done. But I did that, and then I let it set there for probably, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes. Then I took it down, I rinsed it. I usually don't rinse I use a Eucalan, so you don't have to rinse your knits after you soak them in that. But I rinsed this out, I took it down into my washing machine, and I put it on the spin cycle to get the extra water out. And then I brought it up and I just kind of laid it over the back of one of my kitchen chairs like this. And I'm like, well, we're going to hope for the best. Well, I will say that I do not see any coffee stains on it, which is fantastic. There were a few on the front, but most of it was on the back. And this yarn, this blue yarn, does have a bit of a yellow undertone to it. I don't know that you can really tell that on camera. But so if there is a little bit of coffee, it blended right in because of the yellow undertones. But I'm not seeing coffee stains on this, so I was really excited about that. But because all of that had happened, I just kind of haven't touched this pattern since then, or this project. So what I need to do is just take it off the barber cords, put it back on the needles, and get started on again. So this is made, I'm making this out of a one-of-a-kind yarn from Flower Hill Fleeces. It's this beautiful bluish color here, and I'm holding it double with Drops Kid Silk, color 27. And that is giving me this beautiful shade of blue that I am absolutely loving. So this is a beautiful sweater that is basically, you cast on the back, you do the back, you put some short rows in, then you pick up at the shoulders using a technique so that it is basically an invisible pickup, although I didn't do mine that great, so you can see, but I'm not overly picky. Then you knit down the front on the front panels while you're shaping the neck. And eventually then you you cast on under the arms, and then you start your knitting in the round, and it's just stockinette on the body, which I probably want to go 2 inches more on my body before I start the ribbing that's on the bottom. After that is done, you go back and you hold 2 strands of mohair double to knit the sleeves, and in the sleeves is a beautiful lace motif. So I'm really excited to get to that part. And then of course you go back and you finish off your neck. I feel like this sweater is going to be a bit, I don't want to say fancy, but it is going to be a little bit of an elevated sweater compared to what I usually knit. So I'm thinking what I'd really like to do is get this done and wear it to my husband's work Christmas party. I think this would look really beautiful with those lacy mohair sleeves, with a pair of like a black pencil skirt and some black boots. I don't know. I'm kind of imagining it as I go. It wasn't my intention at all. It wasn't my plan at all. But as I was knitting it, I was thinking, I think this, will make a really good outfit for his Christmas party, which is sometime in the beginning of December. So I should have plenty of time to get it done. I just need to get it back in the needles so that I can start working on it again. So this has been, the stockinette, rows and rounds and rounds of stockinette, it does get a bit boring, and that's probably why I didn't throw it right back on the needles. I just need to get through that so that I can get to the sleeves. I think the sleeves will be fun. Typically sleeves don't bother me. I've heard people talk about sleeve island. I don't feel that as much as I feel the body island. When you're doing a sweater that has a lot of stockinette, which I like colorwork yoke sweaters, so that means that they often have just the colorwork on the yoke and then the rest of the body is stockinette. Often. I find that I get on body island and I just get really bored. The sleeves, kind of, but I think because they're a smaller circumference, it goes faster. So that's where I kind of am with this sweater here. I am kind of like on body island, but I'm just but I know that I'm going to be able to knit those fun sleeves. So that's keeping me going. This is a brand new cast on, and I wasn't even planning on casting this on. It just happened, and I'll tell you the story of how it happened. So I did that special episode, the cardigan episode, last Saturday in fact, and one of the cardigans that I had showcased on there was the Jenny jacket by Petite Knit. That jacket or sweater, cardigan, uses a stitch called the smock stitch, and it's all over. And it looks like it could potentially take forever to make that. That would be a labor of love type of project. So I mentioned that, and one of you lovely viewers sent me a hat pattern it's called the Amber hat, and it uses that smock stitch, or at least something similar to it. And this is, Laura sent this. I think her business name is Laura Graham Designs. I will link it down below. It is a $2 hat pattern, but it uses the smock stitch. And she said, don't feel obliged to use this. She said, even if you just want to use it as a swatch so you can see if you like this stitch or not. So that was really sweet of her to send me that pattern, and I really appreciated it. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to knit a hat with it. I'm going to, first of all, it's been a long time since I've knit a hat. And second of all, I'd like to see what this stitch is really like before I commit to knitting a whole cardigan in it. So I'm like, I don't want to have to cake up any yarn. So what yarn that is worsted weight do I have that I won't have to cake it up because it's already caked up? So I was looking through my stash, and most of it is not caked up. Most of it is still in like the skein where I would have to cake it up. And it was late at night, and I just wanted to get started. So I was like, I got to use a yarn that is already caked up. So I had Peace Fleece worsted in 2 colorways. This is Mourning Dove, I believe. This is Lauren's Coral. I think it's either Laura or Lauren, but I think it's Lauren's Coral. They no longer make this color. This color's been discontinued. I think they still make Mourning Dove. So I thought, okay, I am going to use one of those because I already had it caked up. So I cast on with the Mourning Dove, and I started, and even though this is listed as a worsted weight yarn, I was a little bit concerned that it's a bit heavier than a true worsted weight. I think I got the brim done, and then I got into the second smock motif. You know, you do so many rows or rounds to get that smock. So I got through the first one, and then I got halfway through the second one, and I did not like the way it looked because this was too bulky. So I ripped it out, and I thought, okay, I need to pick a different yarn for this pattern, for the smock pattern. But then I was sitting here looking at this, and I was thinking, I think those would look really good together in a brioche project. I don't know how this happens, but I'm sure that you guys have experienced this. You're not intending to knit anything in particular, and then all of a sudden one thing leads to the next, and then you're on Ravelry looking for a brioche hat. And I knew Andrea Mowry had a pattern, at least one pattern for a brioche hat. So I ended up finding the Harlow hat, the worsted version of it by Andrea Mowry. And it uses a worsted weight yarn, of course, and I knew that this was going to be a little bit of a heavier weight. I just feel like this yarn is somewhere between worsted and bulky. It's not quite bulky, but it's not quite worsted either, in my opinion. I did not gauge swatch for the Amber hat, and I plan on making that still because I want to get a feel for it with the correct weight yarn. I will say knitting that smock pattern with this real heavy stuff, no, I would not like it. I could not. I could not do it. The jury is still out on whether I like the smock stitch with a true worsted or a lighter weight. So I will have to let you guys know once I cast that hat on. But I ended up casting on the Harlow hat by Andrea Mowry, and I don't have much done because I had to rip it out multiple times. It had been a really long time since I had knit a 2-color, or I don't know that I'd ever done a 2-color tubular cast on. So it's not hard, but I messed it up anyway, and at least once. And then I did something else. What did I do? Oh, I was reading the instructions for the hat, and I did not understand something in her instructions, and I did multiple rounds incorrectly, and then I realized, I was like, this does not look like brioche. And then I realized after I watched her tutorial that she included in the pattern, I was just doing the stitch as it was written in the index for the different pattern stitches and abbreviations, which a lot of times I am able to do that, but it had been a very long time since I'd knitted brioche, so I should have just watched the tutorial video, from the start. And so once I watched that, I was good to go. So I have this so far. I think there's 3 sizes included for this hat pattern, and I am knitting the second size, which is I think it's a 72 stitch cast on. I'm slightly doubting that decision. I'm wondering if this is going to be too big. It looks okay right now, but I put my yarn, I put the barber cord on and kind of pulled it out, loosened it, and tried the brim on last night, and it feels like it could stand to be a little bit snugger, and I'm thinking maybe I should have cast on the smallest size, which would have been 64, 68, I don't know, something like 60 something stitches. I based my cast on decision upon the fact that of my head measurement, but then I should have taken into account that this yarn is thicker than a worsted weight. It's a thicker worsted weight. I should say it that way. It is a thicker worsted weight. So I probably would have been fine. I would have been fine casting on the smallest size because, brioche has a lot of give too. I'm using my main color as the Mourning Dove for the right side, but this hat is truly reversible, so I can just, hold on, let me do the little flippy thing with my needles. This isn't working. Hold up. There we go. So I can also wear it like this if I want. I think brioche is really fun because you get the 2 different colors when you're doing 2-color brioche. I mean, it definitely takes longer because you're basically knitting, in this case, each round twice, because you're knitting it first with your main color, then you're coming back and you're knitting it with your contrast color. That's how you do brioche. If you were knitting it flat, you would be sliding your work and knitting, you knit each row or round twice. So it does slow the process down a bit. However, this hat, I did most of this last evening, so that's pretty good. And I think it's because it's a heavier weight yarn. So I am knitting this hat. I didn't mean to knit this hat. I didn't set out to knit a brioche hat. It's just the way things kind of happened. I want to thank Laura so much for sending me that pattern because I am going to knit that as well. I need to not be lazy and just cake up some more yarn. I need to check my worsted weight. I don't have a ton of worsted weight yarn, so I need to decide what color I want to do and then just skein that or cake that up and get started on that. All right, let's get into a little bit of sock talk because I have quite a few socks to talk about. The first ones I want to talk about are the Summerlee Colorwork Cuff Club socks that I'm working on. This is I think it was August that she started this cuff club. I actually joined it in October. So I just joined it this month for this motif and others, but I just absolutely love this motif. And this is my first sock. I finished this up and I was a little concerned because I am really good. I would say I'm not perfect at, I wouldn't call myself an advanced colorwork knitter, but I do a lot of colorwork knitting, so I feel fairly confident and comfortable doing it. I haven't done a ton with smaller circumference items like socks, and when I finished this, I was a little bit concerned, even though it's definitely looser And I definitely used more stitches than I usually use with a sock. And I knit the colorwork portion on a size US 2 needle, which is what the pattern suggested. I had a little bit of problem getting this on up over my heel and ankle, like that, the widest part of your foot when you're trying to get a sock on. It felt like the strands of yarn were going to snap, like my floats. It felt like they were going to snap. And I was like, ugh, I wanted to give these as a gift, but then when I realized that, I was like, I cannot give these as a gift, because if they would snap, that person would feel so horrible. Plus, I have little feet, like I have thin feet, so I would have to be really thoughtful about who I could give these to, because if I was having a hard time getting these up over my heel, then do you know what I mean? So I scrapped the whole idea of giving these as a gift, and I decided on the second sock. I did a little bit of research. I had seen, it was Sarah, if it is a Sarah podcast. She recently knitted these, and I think she was talking about how she had a similar experience. So some of her viewers had told her to knit the color work inside out, and I'm still completely confounded by what that means. I need to look a video up on how to, does that mean purling your color work? Because if it does, there's absolutely no way I'm doing that. I'm not. No interest in that. I love to knit color work, but I like to knit it in the round, because then I can knit it and not purl it. So what I ended up doing for my second sock, which is, where is my second sock? Oh, it's in here still. I thought about ripping that sock out completely, because I was just like so disappointed that it was so tight going up over my heel. And then I thought, no, I'm just going to keep this pair for myself. Just be really careful when I'm putting them on, and then be mindful and try some different things on the next pair that I knit. So, but my second one, what I ended up doing, because I realized that the main problem was coming from the floats. And when I would try to put it up over my heel, those floats got really taut and felt like they were going to snap. So I thought, if I have less floats, or my floats are shorter, maybe this won't be such a problem. Let me show you here. I mean, I catch my floats. I do. I tend to not go any more than 5 stitches before I catch my floats. Okay, so this is the first sock. The floats inside my first sock. So these are the ones, that are kind of problematic here. Okay, they are a bit longer. My second sock, I think you'll be able to see a difference. Yeah, you can definitely see a difference. I caught my floats more. I made the floats shorter in this second sock. So I'm hoping, and I haven't tried yet. I have not tried to try it on, because I'm not to the point where I can comfortably do that and really see if it's going to work. I'm almost there. So I will let you guys know what I decide, but it feels more stretchy, but I don't know when I'm going to go to put it on my foot if it's actually going to be more stretchy. We'll see. I already knit them on 9-inch circulars. That's how I knit all my socks, especially the colorwork socks. I would not even think about using magic loop or DPNs with colorwork, because that would drive me crazy, and I feel like that would be so hard to maintain tension. So I know that is a way to correct the tension problems with colorwork socks, knitting them on 9-inch circulars. I already did that. So yeah, I need to investigate the knitting inside out thing. You guys, some of you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, and you're probably like, Amber, it's not purling. It's something so easy. But my brain's just not grasping that. So we're going to investigate that more, and then I'm going to finish this, and hopefully that one goes on a little bit better. And it's okay. I'm learning. It's a lesson learned, and I will be more conscious of this in the future when I knit colorwork socks. And yeah, we'll see. We will see what happens with that. But I'm still really enjoying that. The colorwork portion of the socks just fly, because I love colorwork so much. All right, my next pair of socks, these are so gorgeous. This was another viewer sent me this pattern. She just sent me this pattern. It is a pattern by Drinni Handworks. I will link this pattern down below. It's like €2.50, I think. The pattern is in English and in Dutch, and these are called the Intertwined socks. And let me show you here. Oh, look at that. So I think it's Inga, I-N-G-E. I don't know if I'm making the E have an A sound and that's correct, or if that's not correct. Inga, I'm sorry. I'm probably mispronouncing that. But she said, I think I have a pattern that would work perfectly for your fall variegated yarn. This yarn is beautiful, and I've had it for probably 4, maybe more years. I don't know, time flies by. But it is from A Busy Life yarn dyeing studio, and it is called I Love Fall. And I finally cast it on. Every fall I think I'm going to cast that on, and then I never do, but I finally did. And she was so right. This yarn is perfect with this pattern. This is so gorgeous. That texture in there. It's just subtle, but it's so pretty. I decided to do a contrast cuff, and that is, I used, let me see. This was just a little mini skein that I got. Where's that? Here it is. It's from Polka Dot Sheep, and it's called Autumn Sunset. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was called that. I just grabbed it out of my mini skeins, and I thought that looks like it would work. But so these are very fallish socks, because we've got the I Love Fall yarn here, and we've got the Autumn Sunset yarn there. I will not have enough of this to do the entire sock, like the heel and the toe contrast. So I'm probably just going to do the cuff, and maybe I'll have to measure this because this was only a 10-gram mini. Maybe I'll do the toes as well. I think I can probably do that. We'll see, because I also have this color that I feel like would also play in the scheme. So I might even do the heel with this color. I think that would work. That would look really pretty, I think. But yeah, I'm having fun with this. It's a very nice pattern, and I don't have to do any purling on this pattern. It's all like knitting and yarn overs and slipping stitches, and it's like no purling. I don't know why I don't like purling. Okay, I'm sorry. I've heard other people say, I don't know why people complain about purling. I don't mind purling. And I have to say, since I taught myself to be a continental knitter, I don't mind purling as much, but I do not continental knit my socks. I English knit my socks. It's too small of a circumference for me to feel comfortable manipulating the yarn with my left hand in the socks, because I feel like I can't get a good grip. I'm sure if I practiced, I would be able to, but then my sock feels really loose and sloppy. So I do continental knitting in most everything, but I am doing English knitting. I always English knit with my socks. So yeah, I will link the pattern for these socks down below, as with everything. I feel like I'm getting some sunlight. Let me pause and fix the lighting. Okay, that's better. I was starting to get like this aura of haziness here from the sun coming in. Not complaining, because I absolutely love the sun. Okay, next pair of socks is this Drops Fabel yarn that I've been using. So I knit the first pair. I'm going to talk about this. I've just said that I'm gift knitting these, so hopefully this doesn't backfire on me. But these are for my son Ian. The reason I'm hoping it doesn't backfire is because sometimes his fiance watches my videos, but most of the time she just watches like my vlogs, my daily life stuff, not the actual knitting stuff, because she's not a knitter. So I'm thinking I'm going to be okay. Plus she's finishing up her college thing, so she's really busy. So I'm thinking makes it even less likely that she would watch this. But these are for Ian for Christmas. And I am knitting, this might be really corny, and maybe they'll be like, I mean, I could see Ian being like, Mom, no, actually, I don't think he'll care. I'm knitting a matching pair for her. I don't know. This might be really corny, but I had enough yarn left over that I could. So I'm making the leg. They're gonna be different. Okay? They're definitely gonna be different, but they're going to be matching as far as the yarns that I'm using. This is a Knit Picks. This is Stroll in a Sapphire Heather. And then this is the blue Fable yarn that I don't know off the top of my head. Drops Fabel Print Color 914. So yeah, they're gonna get matching socks for Christmas. Corny? Probably. But I don't know. I just thought it'd be fun to knit them matching socks because they're getting married next year. They're getting married the end of March next year. So yeah, we are also in wedding planning mode in the Spiker household. Okay, I think that's it for knitting projects. And now I want to talk just for a few moments about some podcasts that I have recently found, because, you know, I love sharing other people's podcasts when I'm really enjoying them. You may or may not enjoy them. Again, all personal opinion here. But both of these are, I think they're both relatively new. I know the one is. And the other one I'm pretty sure is relatively new. And I found her about a month ago. I think I found both of these podcasts about a month ago. So the first one is Galanthus Knits, and the woman who hosts this podcast, her name is Michaela. She is from British Columbia, Canada. She's very calming. I love her demeanor. She's very articulate in her speaking. And I just feel very calm. I think that you'll notice that most of the podcasts I recommend, the podcasters are very calm. They're very calming. I'm drawn to calming podcasters. And yeah, so she does a lot of gift knitting too. She is extremely generous. I think she's in that stage of her life that a lot of her friends are having babies. People that she knows, I think from church, she's mentioned, are having babies. So she does a lot of baby gift knitting, which to me is just so kind and generous. And then she knits a lot for herself. She knits for her husband. She also knits for her, I think she has a daughter. She has a child. So she knits for her child. And she's just very, I just really like her podcast. When I see an episode, I get excited. The next podcaster that I've been enjoying is Black Cat Knit Company. And this is, oh no, I forget her name. Ilana, I think. She is an American expat living in New Zealand. And I cannot wait to hear the story of this, because she owns a yarn shop in New Zealand. And I think that is so brave to move to another country and to open up a yarn shop. That is just, I just want to hear the story about that. But she is another very calming, very articulate podcaster, and she films from her yarn shop, which is, to me, it looks like the perfect place to just go and fill all the yarn, squeeze it, sit there and knit. It's just, it's such a aesthetically pleasing yarn shop to me and to my eyes. So she films from there, and it's enjoyable to hear about her experience as a yarn shop owner. She knits a lot of sweaters. She's currently knitting a lot of socks because with having a yarn shop, they do celebrate Socktober every year. But I really enjoy seeing what she's knitting, and because she's from New Zealand, her yarn that she features, a lot of it I've never heard of before, which is interesting to me. I mean, she does use her shop carries things that we can get that can be purchased in other countries or imported in. But I've noticed the theme of possum yarn, and it's not like the opossums that we have in America. It's a New Zealand type of possum, and I don't know how that process works. Like, how do you get fiber from a possum. But again, don't picture the little opossums we have here. I don't even know what a New Zealand possum looks like. I'm intrigued by it all. So I also want to hear that from her. Like, what is this whole possum fiber thing? But it's very unique to that area, I would assume. And so it's just really interesting to watch her videos as well. So yes, Michaela and Alana. I think it's Alana. I could be wrong on that. I'm sorry if I am. Great podcasts if you like a calm, well-articulated, enjoyable podcast video. That is all for me today. I am going to actually go get out of this sweater because I'm starting to sweat. I was actually really good when I first put it on this morning because it was in the 40s, but it's supposed to get up to 60 something today, and I'm sitting here by my window and the sun is coming in and I'm starting to get really, really hot. And so I'm gonna go change out of the sweater first, and then I've got a bunch of stuff to do today, so I need to get on that. But I just wanted to thank you guys for watching. I really enjoy being able to sit down and talk about what I'm working on, and it's just fantastic to know that people out there actually want to watch that, and it feels really good to hear from you and, you know, in the comment section. So I appreciate that. I appreciate all of you. I will be picking the winner for the last episode, the special cardigan episode. If you haven't watched that, go check it out if you're interested in knit cardigans. I'm giving away a free pattern of your choosing to a random winner. I'll probably do that here in a week or so. I've only had that video up for a week, so I want to give it a good 2 weeks. I'm still having quite a few people responding, so I'm going to leave that open, that giveaway open for another week or so. So go watch it if you're interested. Also, if you wouldn't mind giving this video a like, and if you like my channel, you like what you're seeing, if you haven't subscribed already, if you could go ahead and do that. Most of the people who watch my videos aren't actually not subscribed to them, which is really weird. I can see that in my analytics. I just would never assume that. So yeah, all those things help me out as a YouTube podcaster. So I appreciate that. And I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch my episode. And I will see you